This is a public service announcement brought to you in part by Slim Shady. The views and events expressed on this podcast are totally fucked and aren't the views of, well, anyone really. Little did you know, upon listening to this podcast, Slim Shady is not responsible for how you feel about hearing his music initially, no matter how offensive or awkward it gets. Oh, that and he's fed up with your shit and he's coming to kill you. Now, you are listening to the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of Renegade Jukebox on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Nick.
Yeah.
And making her Renegade Jukebox debut, we've got Hayley.
Hello.
Now, this is a project that has been in development for quite some time. We are covering the entire discography of Eminem over the course of 2 episodes. This is part 1, which goes from roughly 1996 with Infinite to the re-up in 2006. So we've got a good decade of material to get through.
And I'm just going to jump in and say this before anybody asks. We're not going to cover any side stuff, so any underground stuff from Detroit we're not going to get into because that's kind of hard to get a hold of. We're not going to cover the Slim Shady EP because, well, there's already the Slim Shady LP and a lot of songs from that are already on the album. That end, we're not going to like deep dive into Curtain Call because that's a greatest hits album. I might mention stuff about Straight from the Lab and King Mathers, but like we don't have a lot to talk about with King Mathers, but I'll get into that later.
Oh yeah. For now, basically these are like the official, I call it the official Eminem canon. So Hayley, I'll start with you. Just a general question. What was your first exposure to Eminem's music?
This is going to be super embarrassing. I'm just going to get that out there right now. Aside from a commercial that used to play all the time when I was a kid that had Cleaning Out My Closet in the background, I did not hear a full Eminem song until I was asked to analyze it for a upper level communications course in college. So I was 20. Eminem's heyday was exactly when everyone else got into Eminem. That completely breezed past me. So, yeah, a lot of my first time hearing songs that had been basically ingrained in people's heads was 10 years after they had been popular, which is kind of interesting, kind of looking at these also from a very specific lens, a very specific academic lens, where you're looking for, the technical breakdown of how the words and phraseology combines in a lot of different ways, both from a sociological and just literary perspective. This all sounds very highfalutin, but this is literally how I was introduced to Eminem.
You know what? This is kind of perfect. We have a little bit of a shakeup in each of our background.
Yeah, like my friends like to say, I'm either 10 years early to something or 10 years late to something. I was hardcore 10 years late to this one, but yeah, I think the first Eminem song I heard was "Without Me." I feel like I wrote some sort of class end paper on that one, but in the course I was in, we listened to a lot of the singles, and Kim. I remember Kim specifically we listened to in that class. Kim, "Without Me," My Band, I think. It wasn't a class specifically on Eminem, but it kind of turned into that.
Nick, what about you? Your first exposure to Eminem?
So prepare to laugh because this I remember so vividly back in 1999. So up here in Canada, instead of MTV, we had Much Music, which basically played anything Canadian music, anything that was coming from MTV, we would get eventually. It would usually be something between Much Music and MTV. It would kind of just air on that same network. So I remember specifically because I think I was about to enter kindergarten that year. And I remember hearing his name being said on Much Music, and it was the premiere of the My Name Is video. And the video starts as normal, and then it gets to the "Hi kids, do you like violence" part, and then my mom's like, "Nope." Religious parents, gotta love them. But I was more of the type of kid that would just kind of casually hear the singles that had come off of. Sorry, I gotta clear my throat. I would just kind of casually hear the singles just by pure happenstance, or if my mom would like cut over certain parts, which we will be getting into much later. But, you know, I'd hear things off of each album, and then I honestly just kind of stopped paying attention because I got into more metal and punk. But it wasn't until the pandemic happened where I decided I wanted to check out different kinds of music. So I was just kind of going, okay, you know what? Eminem's kind of the Metallica of hip hop, where, you know, that's a lot of people's gateway into hip hop music. So I just said, you know what, let's try one of his records out. And I eventually just ended up deep diving because he's such a character. Like, one minute he can be this unadulterated psychopath, and then the next you can be somebody you can understand his perspective on a situation. So, you know, I'll get into which record I started with eventually, but yeah, that's I did have a bit of a fall off point, I will say, which I'll also get into later.
So my first exposure was the music video for the real Slim Shady. I don't remember exactly when I first saw that, but this is when I had just the impression that he was like a comedy rapper. It wasn't really until the Eminem show that I really started to get into his music. Like, it was that and hearing "Lose Yourself" from the 8 Mile soundtrack that I really started to take notice that, oh, this guy is someone to pay attention to. On a more embarrassing note, the first record that I owned, or at least had a burnt copy of, was Encore. And this was back in when I was in 6th grade, so around 2004, 2005. And yeah, that is definitely one of the more embarrassing albums to have in my collection, but we'll get to that. The biggest like hip hop phase that I had was like in 2009, when, like most people, Eminem was kind of like my gateway artist. It was through Eminem that I got into Dr. Dre, NWA, the entire G-Funk subgenre, everything from that, and then I circled back to the East Coast stuff, and yeah, the rest is history. Eminem's history is definitely an interesting one. As you described earlier, he has like two distinct modes. There's the horrorcore side where he really leans into his alter ego, and then there's the more personal stuff, which you will hear a lot of on the Eminem show. But let's start way back in the beginning, before he really found his voice.
Well, let's go back to No Budget and Boom Bap. So I don't really have much to say about Infinite, honestly, and I don't think it's bad. I was trying to think of like a really good comparison to kind of articulate how I feel about it. I think the title track is legitimately great. It's okay. 313 Open Mic are good songs, but beyond that, it's not an album I personally revisit all that much. It's kind of like how I feel about the first Cradle of Filth album. Principles of Evil Made Flesh is a genuinely great debut record, but knowing that Dusk in Her Embrace is the next record, and then we get Cruelty of the Beast, and then Midian, it's like I'd rather go listen to the next three.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about Infinite either. I think I described it in one of our group chats as like it's very very prehistoric, because this is before he really found his voice. He just kind of it feels like an artist who hasn't really he doesn't really know exactly what kind of rapper he wants to be, so he's just kind of he's kind of like forcing himself into a specific type before the Slim Shady LP, where he's like, nope, this is who I am.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking up the influences of the record. It's Tupac's Me Against the World and Nas's Illmatic, which, you know, just kind of knowing some stuff later on from like interviews, how him and his Detroit buddies would always just kind of, they would go see reviews for albums, and whatever got like the highest rating in whichever magazine, they would always go, hey, this is the album that we're all gonna go out and buy no matter what. So it's obvious that Illmatic would be like the big influence on the record, but I don't know. I just don't have too much to say about it. It's a really fine album that is very hard to get a hold of.
Oh yeah, like as proof of this, only the title track is available on Spotify. With that said, Hayley, did you get a chance to listen to this at all?
No, I really couldn't find it even. Like I was trying to trawl through YouTube and found pieces of it and just kind of was like, never mind, then I'll just move on.
Yeah, it's definitely, just knowing that the next three albums exist, it's kind of one of those you can come back to it when you're ready records.
It's one that I don't recommend for newcomers. This is one of those albums that you come back to when you're already once you're already like indoctrinated into the fandom.
So speaking of doctors, though, because since we're skipping over the Slim Shady EP, but that is what got him signed by Dr. Dre in 1999, we get his proper major label debut on Aftermath, the Slim Shady LP.
Yes. And Hayley, I'm gonna start with you first, because I imagine this album came up a lot during your academic studies. Am I correct?
Definitely. So I will say, like, even in college and going back to it still, I think I'm fairly against the grain. I think the Eminem show is the strongest of the early stuff. I know a lot of people will very much disagree with me on that, but I think this is definitely a strong introduction to the world. Strong being the most neutral word I can think of. This album's wild. This is some wild fucking shit. Like, you're still I'm like listening to this with my window open, working, going, maybe you should close the window. But yeah, we did a lot of work with My Name Is, because that's, I think, and I was saying it in our group chat, like, My Name Is feels like the strongest song on this. It is the strongest song on this album, I will say. and it's just the perfect opener to an album. It's like, you know exactly what this is. If this shit isn't for you, you know now. You can bounce out because it's going to just be more of this. But I don't think any artist has been able to so succinctly introduce themselves in 3 minutes ever. It's yeah, listen, I really wish I had the time to have taken like really deep notes on a lot of these songs, because so many of them are so, they're all complex, regardless of how I feel about the juvenilia of this. The complexity is there from the beginning. The lyrical and auditory complexity, especially, like just the way that sounds are placed next to each other in rhymes, and kind of layers upon layers of rhymes. And when we get to Without Me, there's one I can pull off the top of my head, but he's just, it's incredible just the way that sound is layered over each other. It's just like everything is rhyming into everything and locking into everything. It's extremely impressive. But I found listening to this album and the next one, I was kind of relating very deeply to Paul. Poor Paul. I feel like he and I.
Paul takes too much shit from the guy.
He really does.
Paul and I, we relate to each other, I think. It's kind of like, bro, Slim, we get it. You're aggressively straight. You can stop that now. But yeah, I mean, obviously something to talk about with Eminem stuff is just the sheer offense of some of it. I mean, everybody can say what they want to say, I guess.
Which
my gay ass sitting here being like, please stop saying that. This is annoying. Please stop saying that.
I would say that's more reserved for the next record. I feel like that,
yeah,
for me, the Slim Shady LP is like that perfect balance between him being legitimately funny, clever, and just witty, and then, you know, the more dark, serious songs. I feel like there's a good strike between the two on this record. I mean, I personally, I don't care what anybody says. I still think Guilty Conscience and Role Model are funny.
Oh, Guilty Conscience might be my favorite song on the record, just because it is like, it's a character piece between two very, very larger than life personas.
It's the devil in Eminem and the angel, quote, put in quotations, for Dr. Dre. I mean, even just with the more serious tracks on the record, I'm feeling like stuff like If I Had and Rock Bottom, they come from a pretty genuine place, and they do kind of feel like he's long past his infinite period, but at the same time, it's still, you can still kind of feel it's a little bit there on those two songs in particular.
Yeah, I think Guilty Conscience also benefits from being very well performed in a genuine performance sense. It's so over the top, it's so ridiculous, and Eminem will push it into ridiculousness that's just aggravating in some of the later stuff. Sure, we all want to unload on Encore at some point, so we'll get there.
Yeah, we will get there.
Well, that will.
Let's
positivity.
The tagline for this podcast is just going to be, we'll get there.
Well,
but I think it helps that it is so over the top in some of these early songs too on this album, because like I said, it's always going to be a hard listen to sit there and have someone just screaming the F word straight at you for a while. Not fuck, the other one. You're just like, great, come on. Boy, we're fine.
It's not as prevalent as the next record, though. Even just kind of me just like sifting through the liner notes and me just kind of like sifting through like each lyric, I'm just kind of going, it just kind of feels like he's being offensive, but it's more controlled. Once we get to the next record, though, he purely doubles down on everything.
Yeah, and I think that's like kind of what I was getting at with this one. It's like there's still parts of it that I'm just like, thanks, I guess. But there's still a lot of juvenile in there, but there's a lot of genius in it. Like again, I wish I had like written some of these notes down or like printed out lyrics so I could be looking at them. But like brain damage, at some point something is rhymed with orange juice, and I'm just like that took me out of the moment completely. I was just like, that's crazy. Orange does not have a rhyme. That's amazing. But
Well,
and it feels a lot. Everything on this feels more deliberate and more like perfectly calibrated. It's like as soon as this blew up, the wrong lessons kind of got taken from it, and that escalates further and further till we get to like encore.
So here's what I've got to say about brain damage, because Mike's always going like, oh, Nick, you prefer the horrorcore side of things. I think he uses horrorcore to express himself more than anything, because again, there's a lot of personal stuff at least going on, even on the Shady LP itself. Like Brain Damage directly mentions how he was getting bullied as a kid, and how you know where I'm going to kind of go with this, how one bully ended up beating him up in a bathroom and putting him in the hospital. And that bully actually ended up suing him for saying, oh, you mentioned this, I did this to you on an album, I'm going to sue you. But did you actually do it? Yeah, I did, but get out of here.
God, that's like Adele's ex-boyfriend suing her over 25. It's like, or 21. It's like, nobody knew who you were, bro. You could have just not.
And plus, this is the world's introduction to Bad Meets Evil.
Ooh.
Yeah, because Bad Meets Evil, that's one of my favorite songs on this record. Bad Meets Evil with Royce da 5'9" on it. The production is, I think a lot of people tend to oversell Dr. Dre's involvement in this album, because he really only produces the singles. It's actually the Bass Brothers who produce a lot of tracks, especially on later albums.
I'll admit I didn't really know that until recently, how involved the Bass Brothers were.
Oh yeah, they
like looking at the credits, and they're on everything.
Yeah, they bring like a real grittiness and griminess to the sound. While it's kind of like, because from what I'm aware of, My Name Is was one of the first songs that him and Dr. Dre worked on. I kind of feel like once the Dr. Dre songs were finished, and that maybe once M went and did the stuff on 2001, it'd be like the Bass Brothers would listen back to those songs and go, okay, here's how we can kind of structure this into an album.
That would make sense to me.
Okay,
and
so
maybe can I do like, did either of y'all listen to this on Spotify?
I did.
Like,
I have the vinyl.
Okay, so this doesn't apply to you for sure then, but did this album sound really weirdly tinny to you on Spotify, Mike? Because
just a little bit.
Yeah, because there were definitely some songs where I was like, this sounds like it was recorded on a tin can. Like, maybe just the limitations of the sound at the time, or however they compressed it. I noticed it really bad on like towards the second half of the album, like My Fault and Rock Bottom and stuff, and Come On Everybody. And I was just like, that was annoying. I don't know but again, when they master these things for Spotify, sometimes they just end up sounding really whack. Like, it's a K-pop album that sounded like it was recorded in a basement that I have on CD that sounds fine. So who knows?
Everyone's
Spotify really does it. Like, they do mess with the mixing sometimes, but luckily, as long as you have a good pair of headphones, it shouldn't be that noticeable. At least to me, it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know with what it was, and it was weird because the singles didn't sound like that. So I was just like, is this just kind of how this album is? Did I not remember this?
All right, so what's everyone's favorite track on this record? Because I honestly, I think the only problem I really have with it is just that there are too many skits on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kniff is not necessary ever.
He has never been necessary.
He has never been.
Well,
He
it's
has
just
never been necessary.
it's just you get Bonnie and Clyde, which is we'll get into more about that song on the next record. But then you get the bitch skit, then Role Model, then another skit, then My Fault, then the Ken Kniff skit, then Come On. It's like you could have broken that up with like maybe another song or two.
I know that skits were like the thing in 90s and early 2000s rap, but this seems like an excessive amount of them even for that time period.
Agreed. As for favorite tracks, I'd be lying if I said My Name isn't at least in the top 5. But my favorites are Guilty Conscience, Role Model, and If I Had.
Yeah, I feel very basic. I think mine would line up around the same with a give or take of Brain Damage. And also, again, with the knowledge that Paul's my bro. I love you, Paul.
I'm going to go with Guilty Conscience, Bonnie and Clyde, just because from a storytelling aspect, it does what it intends to do. Like, it hits the mark that it's supposed to.
Oh, absolutely.
And I kind of have to respect the hell out of it, which, by the way, if anybody hasn't heard it, go listen to the Tori Amos cover of 97 Bonnie and Clyde. Prepare to not sleep for a week.
She's so good.
That and Rock Bottom, Just and Still Don't Give a Fuck are awesome, and Bad Meets Evil.
Damn. Hearing those back, this album has a lot of bangers.
Yeah, it's funny. When I listened to it, I was like, I don't know that this holds up. And now we're talking about it. And I'm like, I actually really liked almost everything on this from just like a musical perspective. Because I was not sitting here going, I enjoyed Come On Everybody. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, that, even though it's not my favorite song on it, I mean, it's still worth listening to at least.
That is a solid B+ party song.
So then we jump ahead a year and we get a Dr. Dre album. I feel like Forgot About Dre is the best transition into the next album.
Agreed.
So 2000, the year that gave us, Mike, I really can't think of anything without wanting to make a bunch of Limp Bizkit jokes.
We've been doing too much Limp Bizkit retrospecting lately. Let's just move past it.
Yeah. So how about this? Let's just jump straight into it, because it feels like with the Marshall Mathers LP, it really does feel like a continuation of the Slim Shady LP, but it's still different enough. And I also really feel like this is like the perfect balance between like tons of Dr. Dre produced tracks and tons of Bass Brothers produced tracks. And from the lyrical content, if you were offended by anything on the Slim Shady LP,
he only doubled down.
Yeah, pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. And this was my starting point, actually.
And you know what? It's not a bad place to start.
This, I think might be. I don't want to jump too far ahead, just because I would like to keep it like in the moment as the album's coming out when I'm talking about it. But I think that either this or his next album are probably my favorite.
I would agree with that. But can we just back up for a moment and acknowledge that this album is only like a year after the Slim Shady LP, which does kind of inform some of the lyrical content, especially on the track The Way I Am, where he's really kind of feeling the pressure of success.
Oh, I have a studio story about this because I love looking into stuff like this. So basically, the album was pretty much finished, but Jimmy Iovine, the head of Interscope Records, they didn't want Who Knew to be the first single on the album, just because, like, yeah, they loved that the album was darker, that it was angrier, but they wanted something like more peppy and upbeat to introduce the album. So in response, that's why we get The Way I Am, and that's why he says the whole "I'll never be able to top what my name is." So he gives that to Interscope. They love it and want it on the record, but they're like, now you got to put out something way happier and more upbeat. Then
and that's how we get the real Slim Shady.
Exactly. Yeah. And it still has that sinister thing, knowing that apparently M asked Dr. Dre to give him a beat that sounded like a chainsaw was revving up. And
I feel like that informs so much of his music.
That is actually kind of perfect. Just knowing that story behind it, it just gives it a way darker edge that actually feels like it fits within the rest of the record.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel like I have much to say about Stan that hasn't been said already. It's just kind of one of those 5 out of 5 songs that everybody know is just that good.
But I will ask, just because I'm looking at Elton John's picture on the Wikipedia article.
Same.
Do you prefer the studio version or the live version? Because both are genuinely great, but only the studio version is accompanied by the music video, which is very iconic.
Yeah, you kind of have to watch the music video just because the music video just plays out as a short movie.
Mm-hmm. I honestly would say that I prefer the live version. I think like the music video is definitely like really integral to the power of the song. But I think the performance of the live version, especially Eminem's performance of the live version, is more engrossing. Well, I don't know why I feel that, but I think you feel the characters more in the live version.
Well, that and the fact that he was coming under fire so much for the lyrical content, which, yeah, we could get into, and they're not necessarily views I agree with. But, you know, the fact that this guy who is basically being like declared public enemy #1 playing Stan, a song about a obsessed fan who kills his girlfriend and unborn kid, with an openly gay man on stage and them like hugging after playing the song. It's like, you know, I completely get that. That's like something you really feel in the voice. That I think makes Eminem such a character, is the fact that, you know, you can everything that you feel comes out of his mouth is just either genuine honesty or genuine rage.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that makes it. I've been kind of like saying and dancing around this. I think it makes it hard to listen to as someone who, like, I am bisexual, and I sit here and I'm just like, oh, it's like the hatefulness, you feel it, and it's just like, there's a frustrating duality to Eminem where I feel like there's obvious intelligence and obvious thought and obvious work that goes into everything he does, and very calculated work. And I don't mean calculated in a bad way. Obvious. I think we would say he's one of the greatest, like, just technical rappers ever, just based on the precision of how he calculates the way he speaks. And then just the carelessness of some of this shit, like the carelessness of just being of saying these slurs over and over and over again, just like the hatred behind them. And it's just like, and he's just sitting there going like, that's just what we say. It's like, yeah, okay, but you've been told this like 45 times at this point, and it is still fucking happening. Like last year, you're a 40-year-old man. Like it's that part of it gets, and I want to say this. I had to kind of stop listening. I could only listen to like 2 albums at a time while I was doing this, because at some point it's just like it becomes psychically a bit too much, where you're just like you want to like you acknowledge the brilliance going on behind the background, but the layer of shit on top of it, where you're just like, it's, it's really difficult. It's difficult to sit through. And I don't want to like pussyfoot around the fact that these are hateful words that have been used to hurt people like me for many, many years,
and my thing is, and I don't want to sound like I'm being dismissive or anything at all, because like, yeah, and I agree with it more, especially we'll get to that when we talk about Kamikaze, but my thing is throughout the entire record, he kind of just like drops these little hints that he wants to piss you off. And that's why, I mean, literally the last line of the record is, shit, half the things I say, I make it up to make you mad. So kiss my white naked ass. Like that's what he does. And he just kind of embraces like himself being public enemy number one in that sense. And like I said, it's not something that, we're long past the year 2000. It's not, well, you'd probably argue, Hayley, it was never acceptable to say anything like that, but I mean, like, that was common back then.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that for sure. It's just like, you never really listen to anything in a vacuum. I know people try, but it's just like, you can't. So listening in 2021, just being like, yeah, you could have been public enemy number one and, kind of left it the way you did on album one, where it wasn't just always there, or figured out a new way to piss people off.
Well, now we have to address the real elephant in the room, because we'll either get comments saying, why didn't we talk about it? We need to talk about song 16.
Yeah. Let's talk about Kim, because boy, that song is a lot.
Can I introduce it, Mike?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the story behind Kim, and I was alluding to it on 97 Bonnie and Clyde, for those who aren't aware. Eminem was married to somebody named Kim, and she's also the mother of his daughter, Hayley. So on 97 Bonnie and Clyde, that song is about him taking I believe at the time would have been 2-year-old Hayley to go dump his baby mama in a river. And it's the way it's presented, like I was kind of mentioning earlier, the way it's presented and the intent and the storytelling behind it, it's insanely well done, but it's also very creepy to listen to, especially knowing how the lengths that Eminem went behind Kim's back to get Hayley on a song like that. So, also, I should address this too. What if I told you both Kim was the first song recorded for this album?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
talk about setting some tone. Jesus Christ.
So Kim is basically the prequel to 97 Bonnie and Clyde, where Eminem actually kills Kim in the song. That's the entire just looking up the time. That's the entire 6 minutes of this song. And much like 97 Bonnie and Clyde, it's one of those songs that I actually came up with a really good analogy that I'll be using in a minute. I admire the hell out of its existence, but it's not something that I would listen to like frequently. Like, I'm not going to throw it on for a group of friends, for example.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No,
absolutely not.
But my analogy for it is, this song is more like Requiem for a Dream in that, yes, it is disturbing. Yes, it is tough to listen to or watch. Yes, it does get a little too real in places, especially knowing that it's not even distracting the fact that he's doing an impression of Kim herself.
If anything, that adds to the tension
manicness and intensity.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like this song, the way people describe it, it's more Requiem for a Dream than it is a Serbian film where it's just disgusting for the sake of disgusting and you're just watching all of this awful shit happen that you don't need to see. I think people really need to just describe it as it's this really dark song that's well done, but it's not something that, I don't even listen to it beyond like the context of the album it's on.
Yeah, I think,
go ahead.
The only times I'll ever listen to the song willingly is if I'm intending to listen to the album from start to finish, or if I just happen to have Eminem some discography on shuffle and it just happens to come up. I will never choose to listen to this beyond like you said, the context of the record.
Oh yeah, it's a 5 out of 5 song, but like I can't willingly listen to this on a frequent basis without going like, this is getting a little real.
Yeah, this was the first time I had listened to this song since college because no thank you. Like I listened to a lot of what we would call harsh shit with a lot of people screaming and stuff, but I think when we were talking about guilty conscience and how it works, and I was saying like the performance aspect really makes it work, the actual performance, because it makes a lot of the stuff go down easier. The performance aspect of this makes it go down harder. Like I think it is too real. I think Kim thought it was too real. She tried to off herself one time after it was played live. Like it's a statement, I guess.
To throw you a bit of a bone, I cannot find live footage of that because he did play that song live like 3 or 4 times according to what setlist.fm was telling me. I have a strong suspicion Paul's got that like locked away in a vault somewhere so nobody can see it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. Like it's horrifying. Like just it's stomach turning. I don't care for it at all.
Should we
it's also another thing where it's like it's technically brilliant, but like Jesus Christ, somebody should have given him therapy instead of shoving him back in the studio.
Should we also point out how on the clean version of the record, this song is nowhere
just
to be
not
found.
there.
Yeah,
See,
they
drugs
replaced
are
it with
bad. And if you don't
kids.
believe me, ask your dad. And if you don't believe him, ask your mom. She'll tell you how she does them all the time. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely found that out in college because I tried to. There was not a lot of reputable streaming services that made sense to use when you were doing stuff like this in college. So I actually went to the library and rented this CD, and it was not on there. And I was like, I fucking listened to this song. I know I did. And like I had to go on a whole hunt trying to find this song I didn't want to listen to in the first place.
Yeah, and I don't want anybody coming into this to just like get scared off from listening to this because it's impressive how dark in tone this record is, yet somehow there's something enjoyable about it, finding out how this guy who just got thrust into fame and success, and yet at the same time, on one hand he wants the fame and success, but at the same time he's also like in a constant fight with it, which is probably why I think Marshall Mathers might be my favorite song on this record, even amongst the other myriad of amazing songs on this record. Favorite songs, everyone.
Honestly, on this album specifically, it would be easier to say my least favorite song, and it's Amityville.
Amityville. We'll comment on the reason why with the next record we talk about, because although I actually do like Amityville, but my least favorite thing about this record is the Ken Kniff skit. Like this does not belong. Like, if you're wanting to diss Insane Clown Posse, you did it better on Marshall Mathers with just like a couple of lines, and then bam, you're out.
Agreed. Ken Kniff, I said before, Ken Kniff is never okay on any of these records.
I don't understand why those are there.
Maybe because he had the Slim Shady show come out and he needed them there. I don't know, but let positivity before we have to talk about 2004.
Okay, positivity. Okay, I gotta do top 5 because this album has a lot of bangers. In no particular order, I would go The Way I Am, Stan, Remember Me is a pretty awesome song with two pretty great features with RBX and Sticky Fingers. Let's see, when I say The Way I Am, Stan, I'll be basic and say the real Slim Shady, because that beat, the beat that Dr. Dre uses is just super catchy, and the lyrics are very cleverly written, as a lot of his songs. And then number 4 and number 5 would be, number 4 would be Criminal, and number 5, even though I kind of don't think it belongs on the record in hindsight, Bitch Please 2. It really feels like this should have been on 2001.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Hayley, go with your favorite songs. I'll go last for this one.
I think far and away my favorite song on this record is Stan. Like, that is, like, we were talking about 5 out of 5 songs. This is like the perfect song, to the point where it's like permeated our entire pop cultural existence without people really even realizing it. Like, it's changed language as we know it, how we describe fans. Like, it's insanely impressive. And I think a lot of, it's like I think I've made it clear that Kim deeply gets under my skin, and I do not care for it, just on a visceral emotional level. I think Stan is like the perfect version of Kim. The song, not the person.
One part of me confusing. Part of me kind of feels like Stan sets up Kim later on in the album.
It does.
Yeah, because I mean, even Stan just straight up goes, but I'm not as crazy as you are, because I didn't slit her throat, because she'll suffocate and she'll suffer more, then she'll die too.
Yeah, can't deny that. I also really like Bitch Please too, even though it does sound like it was ported from an entirely different album. But there's something very fun about having all of those people on that song. That just, it's like, whoa. Like, I totally forgot that was on this album. I was very excited about it. Especially, it's kind of a nice bit of some sort of levity before just the end of the album is pretty rough in general.
Maybe that's why it was included, to give the listener that calm before the storm.
Yeah, I think in that function it works very well too. I think those would be my 2 super standouts. We've already kind of talked about. I thought Kill You was a good introduction, just in terms of like sonically and whatnot, and tying into all the themes. And as much as I love Paul, I also love Steve.
Oh God, Steve!
Steve Berman.
I love every put upon person that has to come into Slim Shady's life. I sympathize with all of you so much.
So my favorites, I kind of feel like I don't know which one it would be, because on one hand, I appreciate Kill You, and it's just sonic verbal assault. Stan is like a 5 out of 5 masterpiece of storytelling. Who Knew is like an acknowledgement of this album is designed to piss you off and you're giving into what I want. The Way I Am is struggle with life, fame, and just, wanting to just be respected in your own field of work. The Real Slim Shady just feels like one big middle finger to top 40 pop, while also somehow getting played on top 40. Remember Me is like underground. It's like the hip hop shop back in Detroit, just Eminem gets to work with some of his favorite artists of all time. I'm Back is just lyrical craziness. I mentioned it earlier, Marshall Mathers might be my favorite track on the record just because of how dark it is. And that solo at the end is pretty awesome too.
I love that solo.
Shout out to the Bass Brothers for like making some, again, the balance between Dr. Dre and the Bass Brothers just kind of adds to this real serial killer vibe while feeling like really dusty, dark, and grimy. Drug Ballad, is it just me, or am I the only one who feels like this song creeps me the fuck out?
It does have
this
a pretty
whole album
creepy
was
vibe
giving
to it.
me anxiety. So
no, this song really, because I remember Eminem saying in an interview, I think before this came out, how because he recorded a lot of this album while he was doing a trip to Amsterdam, and that almost became the title of this record. So from what I'm aware, he saw a bunch of people doing drugs, and he would do his usual Vicodin and LSD, but he saw a bunch of girls doing coke and how passed out they were. It kind of feels like he's describing that and just setting it to the grimiest instrumental possible. Then Amityville, I like the majority of it, but we'll get to that when we talk about the next record. Yeah, Bitch Please 2 belongs on 2001, but it's like the ultimate aftermath pairing, especially because the Up in Smoke tour was happening. Kim, we've talked about. Under the Influence, we'll talk about in a minute. And Criminal is one of those songs you do not do karaoke to.
Oh, absolutely not.
No,
nope.
you are getting punched in the face if you say any line from Criminal in public.
I also am just realizing I totally missed this on the track list, and I thought it was on this album. I missed my chance to talk about My Fault, which I actually think might be my favorite song on the last one. So I'm just going to interject with that.
All good, because as much as we probably want to talk about the next album, we gotta acknowledge another elephant in the room, because we gotta now talk about D12.
Yeah, D12 is, can you call this even a supergroup? Or is it just Eminem's collective with a bunch of his friends?
So
it's definitely a hip hop collective, according to Wikipedia. And I know they fight like cats and dogs about what a collective versus a super group is.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, and this is going to be more storytelling, so basically Proof, who is Eminem's best friend, will be discussing more on him in a minute, but basically Proof wanted to form a group of the 12 best rappers in Detroit. So he got Eminem, himself, Mr. Porter, otherwise known as Con Artist, Swifty McVeigh, who would eventually join the group after the death of Bugs, Kaniva, and Bizarre. So, and they just came up with their own alter egos, making them 12 members. So Dirty Dozen.
Yeah, so that's where the name comes from. Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. So Eminem had a deal. They all had a deal with each other that if one of them becomes famous, they would come back and basically help them get popular. So that's why they're in the Real Slim Shady video. That's why they're on the last album. That explains why. So now we get to talk about an album that turned 20 this year, and I feel is kind of underappreciated with one glaring flaw.
I'm kind of curious what the glaring flaw is. Besides Bizarre.
Oh,
I was gonna say, it's the glaring flaw
that's the
Bizarre
glaring
because-
problem. So we're gonna jump right into Devil's Night. I honestly really feel Devil's Night is underrated, but Bizarre holds them down so much.
I honestly, when we were talking about the last album, wanted to ask what his deal is. Because in
That
some
is
ways
honestly
he
a good
seems kind
question.
in some ways he seems ahead of his time in a kind of like odd future Tyler the Creator way. But in another sense, it's not being executed well at all. Like
No,
no
it's
one's stepping in to
Eminem
be like,
minus
hey,
the
maybe
wit.
you should like yeah, no one's stepping in to be like, hey bro, you can maybe finesse these lines a bit so you're not just like spewing a bunch of it's almost like Lonely Island-esque. Have you ever heard the Lonely Island song We're Back, where it's just them talking about increasingly gross shit about themselves? It's just kind of what Bizarre feels like on some of these runs.
Except
Like,
he's not funny and he's not clever. He's just he's just a blunt instrument.
He is gross for the sake of just being gross at this point, and that I really feel is why people consider Amityville to be the worst song on the original MMLP, is purely because he's Eminem minus the wit, minus the clever lines, minus just any engaging energy. It's just, how gross can I be on a song that should motivate you to fight back against bullies? Like, it's we'll get to my favorite song on the record in a minute, but
They must have really liked this guy because they gave him a skit and everything, and I was just like, is there just something I missed? I was like literally sitting there going like, should I watch live performances of this guy? Am I like missing something about it?
yeah, even
Sounds like no.
live performances, even just watching stuff from the Anger Management tour the next year when he would bring D12 on stage, it just did. But I mean, let's talk some positives about this record, because I really do feel like one review described it the best. It really feels like it's less a Tarantino movie like the Marshall Mathers LP, and it's more like a Friday the 13th movie, where it's just enjoyable violence for enjoyable violence sake.
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I'll be honest though, I didn't get a chance to listen to the whole thing, but I picked at some of these singles, and fight music is one I come back to quite a bit. That's a good track for this group.
You've got me antsy to talk about how badass this song is. I love fight music. This is, even Mr. Porter thinks that this is Eminem's best verse, and I've got to say, I 100% agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really feel like this entire verse summarizes who he really is, and I really feel like it's kind of like, considering that this was really the last single to get released for this album, I really feel like it's kind of the perfect segue into the next record. But the same thing really goes for MMLP. Like, it's the perfect balance between Dr. Dre and the Bass Brothers production, where it still feels like it has that grit and dirt and grime under its skin, while it has that, perfect Dr. Dre production on it. And Ain't Nothing But Music, that is the only there's only one line Bizarre has that's even remotely funny, and it references the real Slim Shady.
I'm still flabbergasted by Bizarre and his entire presence on so many of these.
The only line that he has that is even remotely funny is, Eminem doesn't like NSYNC, well I do, so fuck him and the Backstreet Boys too.
Yeah, that is an objectively great line. I thought that was in Purple Pills because that one I remembered, but I love that line.
I remember the purple, well, for the music video, Purple Hills. But no, that I remember that video getting played to death on Much Music back in the day. And fight music, did fight music get played in the US, or was it true that after 9/11 happened, they just kind of like shoved the video to like MTV2 or something?
I honestly don't remember the video for fight music. I just kind of remember listening to it just on my own in circulation.
I remember fight music being played at a school dance I went to. Or something very similar to it.
Oh,
because I would have like that was a memory that kind of unlocked. I don't think I ever realized it was Eminem adjacent. It was just a thing that was playing at a school dance when I was like a freshman in high school. But I was a freshman in high school 3 or 4 years after that. I graduated 2009, so that would have been like 2004, 5, 5, 6. No, would have been like 2005 or 2006. So it would have been years removed at that point.
Yeah, it's so weird that this album is it's so weird that it's buried in Eminem's kind of legacy at this point.
Yeah, I feel like people, like, I did not realize D12 had 2 albums when we were going into this. Like, I knew my band, and that's like the one hit, like the real quote unquote one hit wonder, if you go by the specific Billboard rules of top 40 hit for one group.
Oh, we'll get to 2004 in a minute.
Sorry, but no, I just truly had no idea there was another D12 album.
So yeah, I really feel like this is the strong one of the two. Favorite songs, everyone.
Fight music, Purple Pills, and I'll just go ahead and just say the singles. Whoever it was that like actually picked these ones out, they did a good job.
Yeah, I agree. I think the album really comes alive in that middle part with That's How Purple Pills and Fight Music. Like, that was the part of the album that really stuck with me, besides that one good Bizarre line.
My favorites, Pistol Pistol is awesome. I really love M's hook on that, because I don't go nowhere without my pistol. Like, when I'm playing Grand Theft Auto and I'm just shooting somebody in the face over and over again, I don't know. I just love singing that chorus out loud. Definitely another one of those you don't sing that in public. Ain't Nothing But Music is really good. American Psycho is really good too. Purple Pills and Fight Music, of course, Fight Music probably being my favorite. And the last track, Revelate. Ooh, we can't forget one of his best diss tracks, though.
Oh.
Yeah, because you got to remember, he started having problems with Limp Bizkit at this time. So, yeah, the Limp Bizkit diss track, Girls.
Fight. Jesus Christ.
Oh, Girls is hysterical. It's awesome.
It is. I can't believe I forgot about that. But yeah, sorry. I think it got lost, but it's like, just, that's a lopsided fight if there ever was one.
I wouldn't even call it a fight. I would just call it a beating.
Yeah, well, imagine not being able to rap on beat and then trying to go up against Eminem. It's like,
well, no, it's, in this case, it's not Fred Durst's fault. It's DJ Lethal being an idiot, getting them into that whole fight with Everlast.
Oh no.
These are all names from the 90s I don't want to hear outside of Woodstock 99 documentaries.
So let's get into arguably his best year ever, from, let's just say 2002 up until like February of 2003 was probably the best year of his career. I think everyone would agree on that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Seems about right, yeah.
So in 2002, after being pushed ahead so that way M could avoid piracy, he got his second Diamond album. And I would argue, like I was saying earlier, I think the Marshall Mathers LP is probably the best. But in terms of the one that I come back to the most, it's probably the Eminem show, where like I appreciate the hell out of him wanting to just like sonically assault you for well over an hour. The Eminem show really feels like it's more focused on just giving you really good songs for 20 tracks.
And he's producing like almost all of them. I think the only ones that don't have him like as taking sole credit are, well, the stuff that Dr. Dre produced. So Business, Say What You Say, and My Dad's Gone Crazy.
Yeah, those are the only songs Dr. Dre produces on this record too. So it's very much in style-wise, it's not in the same vein as the Slim Shady LP. This is more, it's definitely of its time, because you got to keep in mind nu metal and rap rock were still the biggest things in music at that point. But at the same time, this album weirdly does not sound dated at all.
No.
That snare in White America punches you square in the face as soon as it starts.
Oh yeah. I don't think I could think of a better introduction to the album than White America.
Yeah. Man, that's a hell of a song.
Oh, just the flow of this record, I think, was just down to a science, really. And we'll get into kind of the recording side of things in a minute, but I mean, the fact that this was kind of all just being done behind the scenes throughout 2001 is impressive in of itself.
Yeah, I'm big on album flow. Like, that's hugely important to me when I'm listening to an album. And I think on album flow alone, I would say this is my favorite of the Eminem albums. It is just perfect.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that. There's not what this album has that, as much as I love the previous two, the biggest problem I have with those albums is the flow and the overstaying of the skits welcome. This does not have that problem at all. There are two skits, well, four if you want to count the bookends, but there's only two skits. It's Paul and Steve, but everything else.
Oh, boys, Paul and Steve.
And don't forget the Kiss skit.
Oh, right. But other than that, it's probably the best, assortment of tracks of his first three records.
Well, I love the fact that, yes, it is a little bit of a style change, but at the same time, he still has the same wit. He still has the same fast delivery, still keeps what makes him interesting just as an artist. But at the same time, this is probably the most personal record of the whole 1996 to 2006 period, I feel.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and it's the most personal, but you also see a graduation from just flinging whatever angry word he can think of at the wall to like some really incisive, like very deep cutting, multi-layered explorations of himself, which I think is that's why I like this album the most. I think it feels more mature.
I'm going to even defend Cleaning Out My Closet's existence even after one track we'll be talking about in part 2. I still feel like that song just can be just as vital and just as hard hitting as it was back in 2002, down to that really fun to play guitar riff. Because yeah, I actually learned how to play that on guitar. It's kind of fun to warm up with. But yeah, I really feel like the lyrics, yeah, they do kind of get a bit of a bad rap. Yeah, it is him complaining about his mom. but he gives you every justification as to why he feels the way he feels, and you can kind of get where he's coming from.
That's why the song still works, even if he himself kind of rejects it after apologizing to his mother. It's still the most accurate representation of how he felt at the time. And also, the instrumentals of that track are, well, the instrumentals on all the tracks are great, but that one especially really stands out.
Yeah, it's just further proof of how good the Bass Brothers really were at giving him something that was gritty that can work with Dr. Dre's production, but in this case, because he was doing it all himself, it still has that grit and darkness of the last two records, but it still feels like it's a different direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will say, cleaning up my closet also, Bennett, like, obviously he feels differently about his mother now, and people are allowed to grow and change, but I think something that makes it stand out still compared to some of the earlier, just like things like Kim, it's not just like he's not just sitting there going bleed bitch bleed, it's like, this is the story of my life, and it feels more cathartic and less just lashing out, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it does. And plus, we got to acknowledge on this album, this is the first time we've mentioned White America before, but this is really the first time he's gotten political on any of his records so far. Because we're going to talk about how great Square Dance is. And I don't
Square Dance.
I don't know what it is. I shouldn't like the chorus to it, but at the same time, there's just something just energetic and just bouncy about it that just makes it engaging to listen to. And the entire assault on the Bush administration in the first two verses, awesome.
I think it's the Bass Brothers who kind of who add that bounce to it that makes it more effective.
And even like the jokier, funnier track, like I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna say names or anything, and you can totally cut this part out if you guys want. But Drips is like the perfect song to send your friends when you find out they've caught STDs. It should be something that's really like just Obi Trice's delivery on that song should make this song just fail as bad as like the worst Bizarre song on any of the 2D12 albums, but it's funny. It's quotable, and yet at the same time it's like, I shouldn't like this, but I do.
It's kind of genius to pair that one with Without Me.
God, I love Without Me.
Like
that was the first Eminem song I ever heard.
It is kind of weird.
And I was sitting there with the lyrics in front of me trying to pull it apart, and I'm just like, damn, this is good.
It is kind of weird having it go from like an Obi Trice featured track to Obi Trice, real name, no gimmicks, and then the rest of Without Me.
Around the outside.
But I mean, of the three lead-off jokey singles, I think this might be the one that aged the best.
Yeah.
Which one? Without Me?
Yeah.
Aside from that whole bit about nobody listening to techno and Moby not being relevant. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was in that whole feud with Moby at the time, so it does make sense. But
I know
that
one's just stunningly off the mark.
Can we talk about how Sing for the Moment is probably the best song on the album? Either that or one we'll get to later.
Jumping off that, do you think this is the best use of sampling that you've heard around this time?
Oh, this is knowing the fact that Diddy used the sample of Kashmir by Led Zeppelin so poorly and awfully. I really feel like Eminem made Sing for the Moment not just sound like an Aerosmith cover song, just badly karaoke'd.
Mm-hmm. I wish I knew more about historically what kind of sampling was being done. I think for Eminem's discography, it's very, very solid.
Yeah.
I think this is no, I'm not gonna lie and say this is the only time he's used sampling, because when we get to part 2, Recovery has a lot of it.
And
and Toy
actually,
Soldiers.
and actually in MMLP, the hook from Under the Influence is a Michael Jackson song, and I'm about to ruin When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin, but the drums on Kim, it's familiar. I'm just gonna say that.
Right.
And that Dido song from Stan.
Oh,
like I'd say that's that's the best one. I would that, and I really like how Martika's used on like Toy Soldiers. This is pretty good.
Yeah, this is, and then we gotta acknowledge kind of one problem that he's going to start exhibiting on later albums, but the way it's done here is kind of perfect. I'm not gonna lie. We got to talk about Hayley's song.
Hayley's song is sweet. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you guys.
It's cute. It's cute, and it's cute in a way that's not sugar coated and doesn't make me want to puke blood.
This is the first album listening to that I didn't feel really weird that my name was Hayley. I'll say that, because I wasn't like assisting in murders or anything.
What if I told you this song actually was supposed to have a sample of While My Guitar Gently Weeps by the Beatles?
Oh, really?
Which Hayley's song or My Dad's Gone Crazy?
Hayley's song.
To say that on My Dad's Gone Crazy would have been wild.
I can kind of hear
that makes sense.
Wait, like so. I can hear in Hayley's song where M would have slipped in While My Guitar Gently Weeps, because it's in the same key and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Was it because of a rights issue that they couldn't use it?
I think so. That, and at the time, George Harrison just recently passed away, so I don't think he could have gotten the rights to use that sample.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For a super long time, Apple, not computer giant Apple, but Apple, the music publishing company, guarded the rights to Beatles stuff pretty obsessively. It's why it was a big deal that The Social Network ended with a Beatles song, because Beatles songs used to cost like millions of dollars to clear until very recently, which is why you're hearing them a lot more now in television shows and commercials and stuff.
And now we got to talk about the other best song on the album, just because there's so many good ones. Even the songs that I'm not as big on, like Say What You Say, it all gets made up for once you get that piano key and Nate Dogg's hook.
Mm-hmm.
I think this might actually be my favorite song on the record.
Yeah, Till I Collapse is fucking awesome, and nobody can convince me otherwise.
I was shocked when I read that this was not a single. It felt like it was like it was a huge song for years.
Superman got released as a single, but you didn't push Business or Till I Collapse. Really?
I think this is where the drugs were really starting to take hold, though, right?
No, here's the thing, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about 8 Mile, but Eminem was sober throughout the recording of this album.
Okay.
That's why his voice just sounds like so energetic and healthy throughout it. He sounds like just as angry and vital. There's not a minute wasted on this thing.
Also explains a lot of some of the irritating homophobia is still there, but it's toned down a lot too. Mm-hmm. Ken is not on this album, thank God.
Thank God.
He is. He's on Curtains Close.
Oh.
But here's the thing, he's not talking about, how much he's wanting to have sex with Eminem or the Insane Clown Posse.
It is a win
vivid
for
detail.
humanity.
And plus, it's at the end of the album, so if you don't want to listen to that skit, you do not have to.
It's not even the worst, but
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail us talking about Ken. I just meant that like knowing that makes sense, because this is with some long-standing elephants that at least were mostly shooed away at this point. This is the most focused and the least ridiculous of the albums, I think.
Yeah, I really feel like this is, I can't really pick out of the trilogy which is my favorite, because really this is just kind of like the perfect way to cap off. Like, I really feel all three of these albums, I understand why somebody would pick the Slim Shady LP as their favorite, or they'd pick the Marshall Mathers LP as their favorite, or the Eminem Show as their favorite. Like, you can't really go wrong with either of the three.
Yeah, any one of these three can be someone's first. Like, if you just want, if you're, let's say you're a younger fan and you want to listen to Eminem in his prime, but you're not really into the more horrorcore side of things, then you give them the Eminem Show. If someone was listening to, say, Music to Get Murdered By, and they're like, has he always sounded like this? You would give them the Slim Shady LP. Or if someone stumbled upon, I don't know, the Marshall Mathers LP2, and they have no idea what the lyrics are referring to, you take them back to the Marshall Mathers LP.
Yeah. So
that would be such a bizarre experience listening to two before one.
Oh, you never start with whenever you're watching a movie series, you never start with two. You go back and watch the first one, even if the first one sucks. I mean, I watch Friday the 13th Part 1 knowing it's not that good of a movie, just so I can get to 2, 3, and 4.
That's fair. I was just thinking about that from the context of it's so dense. Like, what would you even make sense of in that?
So since since I was mentioning Friday the 13th, we got to transition this into a movie show now.
Oh, yeah, because we need to talk about 8 Mile.
Yeah, because has anybody watched it recently?
Not recently.
No,
I think I think the last time I saw it was, oh God, I want to say 15 years ago. It's been a minute.
Okay, I watched it like recently, so sorry, Hayley.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say, I feel like I've watched it in the last 10 years, but not recently enough to remember much of it.
Okay, I've watched it in the past year, so I feel like I can comment on it a bit. Okay, so basically what I was kind of referring to in mind when I said Eminem was sober in the middle of the making of the Eminem Show. So he pulled basically triple duty. So he was recording the Eminem Show while recording the soundtrack for 8 Mile, while shooting 8 Mile. So I really feel like the best description of this movie is Rocky, but instead of boxing, you replace it with hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't feel like we talked about Proof enough when we were talking about Devil's Night by D12, but even he makes an appearance in the first scene of the movie.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the guy.
Yeah, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, the guy who he's battle rapping against, he loses to Proof, so it's kind of fitting in that sense that, the guy who made him really want to become a rapper, he loses to in his own movie. So for those who don't know, it's loosely based on Eminem's life. It's about a guy named B Rabbit who he comes from a white trash trailer park, and he's trying to get out of it and build a name himself in the underground battle rap scene in Detroit. And it's basically just one huge scene of Eminem going through life. Anybody got any comments then?
Sorry, I was looking through the track list of the soundtrack because it's I remember really liking the movie. It was when I was talking about that class ended up turning into an Eminem class, we watched a lot of 8 Mile in that class because it was basically a class devoted to understanding how to pick apart literature, media, and break it down to its most essential parts. So rap was very easy for that because there's a lot going on in a lot of rap songs. So you could break it down syllable by syllable. And we always got mad when we'd only watch like 5 seconds of an 8 Mile clip and be like, no, more, please.
No, because it's an engaging as hell movie. Like, you would think that it's just Eminem playing himself, whatever. But to be fair, Eminem's already a fascinating character in himself. So it's an interesting character to play anyway.
Mm-hmm. I think there's something to be said about like Eminem going into a movie like this where, kind of like you said, he's already like created so much of a character sonically that it just kind of makes sense that eventually like that would kind of translate to a compelling on-screen performance.
Mm-hmm. And he's had a very cinematic life. Like, I don't want to reduce what he went through, but it's very dramatic, very fraught. That would translate very well to a film or a miniseries.
Yeah, and I really do love the fact that it's not bogged down in Eminem, Kim, his mom, Hayley drama. It just can exist as its own movie in its own right and still be entertaining and worth watching.
Mm-hmm. And it's probably to its credit that it doesn't get bogged down in a lot of that.
Oh, yeah, because nobody needs to, be digging up articles from the year 2000 to understand his problems with Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes listening to these songs, I felt like I needed charts. Like, I was sitting there going, like, I feel like this is a diss to somebody that he was in a feud with, but I'm just going to let that slip by.
Yeah, being an Eminem fan at this point has really made me realize you got to be a fucking nerd to enjoy his music in some capacity. But,
to be fair, he himself was a nerd.
Oh, yeah, the dude's made it clear
nerd.
how big he is into comic books and everything. But, like, regardless, like, even the other actors in this movie, they play their parts well. Everybody's still entertaining. Mekhi Phifer is like the spitting image of Proof when Proof had dreadlocks, and basically nails this character.
I forgot Brittany Murphy was in this.
Yeah, Brittany Murphy's in this, and I can't help but I'm not trying to say anything like disrespectful or out of line, but I will never see Luann. I will never see her as anything other than Luann from King of the Hill.
I just no, I get you. I just really didn't realize she's been gone. Oh God, almost 15 years now then, right? Because that 8 Mile came out shortly before she passed, didn't it?
She died in like 2009 though, right?
Oh shit. I thought she had died way earlier.
I'm fact checking this now. Yeah, it was 2009. So
okay, I was way off. Never mind. Don't know who I mixed her up with. Jeez.
Yeah, I can't really think of like any major glaring flaws with the movie other than like, yeah, maybe the ending is a little bit too everything conveniently works out for everybody in the end. But at the same time, it really is what I described it as. It's Rocky, but with rappers instead.
So you said this was like, loosely based on Eminem's real life. Was I take it most of the inspiration was just kind of his experience in the Rap Olympics and all of that?
Kind of, and him doing underground battles at the hip hop shop, which he always talks about in various lines and lyrics. So I am going to give people a warning. Do not listen to the soundtrack until you are done watching the movie, because there will be spoilers. That's why I wanted to save it for later, guys.
Understandable.
Yeah, because no lie, Lose Yourself literally spoils the majority of this movie.
Oh, totally. And it like, and is completely omnipresent. I feel like even if you don't know who Eminem is, you have heard this song.
Mm-hmm.
I describe it to people as what Enter Sandman by Metallica is to metal, Lose Yourself by Eminem is to hip hop. It's one of those songs that everybody has heard at least once.
Yep.
My karaoke song.
Like to the point where the guy literally has, it's a meme and he's in on the joke even. So I feel it's appropriate.
He has a restaurant now called Mom's Spaghetti.
Yeah. Which
I didn't get the time to watch 8 Mile, but I definitely listened to the Mom's Spaghetti version of this song.
Which, with that said, let's just get into this soundtrack. We're gonna, as great as a lot of other songs are on this, like the Obi Trice song Adrenaline Rush is awesome. The Jay-Z track, the Nas song is amazing. But
I didn't realize Gangstar was on this record. That kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah. So let's go ahead.
I'll go to bat for this Macy Gray song. That shit was awesome. I forgot that song I was like, wow, really blown away by that one for some reason.
Yeah, let's that one is good, but I'll just get in one comment before let's stay on the Eminem tracks, because I feel like each artist kind of could be its own episode. But I will say this: Wanksta still sucks. Bite me. Get over it. No, I never liked it. I don't like it. No. I know 50 Cent is his buddy and his new artist, but I don't care.
No, you're not wrong. It's not great.
Yeah, no, I've never really loved it either.
All right, so I really feel like Lose Yourself, everybody knows it. We could talk about it all day, but like, how great are the other Eminem tracks on this?
8 Mile specifically is a track I don't hear enough people talking about, but
right,
like that could have been the lead single if they wanted to, but obviously Lose Yourself has, the Jeffrey bass of it all, like that awesome guitar riff. There's a reason why that won the Oscar that year.
And he didn't even attend it just to watch cartoons with Hayley.
I mean, probably not the worst choice.
My thing with the soundtrack to 8 Mile, Love Me just kind of exists, although I do like the nod to Stillmatic by Nas in his verse. I really feel like 8 Mile, Rap Game with D12 and 50 Cent, which is one of the good 50 Cent songs on here, and Rabbit Run, 5 out of 5 songs, great, worth listening to on repeat. I really feel they don't get enough love from people.
I really liked Rabbit Run on listening to this. Like I said, it's been like at some point in the past 5 to 10 years I saw this movie, but it's been a while, and just I forgot how good that song is. Like this, I know we're staying with Eminem, but this whole soundtrack's pretty solid except for Wanksta. You can't really go wrong with any of the Eminem songs. They're not Lose Yourself, but they're still really, really good.
Did you notice on Rabbit Run, actually, the beat is literally a clock ticking?
It's fantastic. I love stuff like that. I love when it's just like, I'm going to just hit a stop sign rhythmically and rap over it. Like that shit. I love that shit. And
there's no chorus to it even.
And that's the most impressive kind of stuff. Like I really like when artists play with form, like musical form. So Rabbit Run is definitely a thing that's right up my alley. There's no chorus. It's the sparsest beat imaginable, and it's just someone letting loose for like 5 minutes.
3 minutes, actually.
3 minutes? I misread this. Yes, 3 minutes.
Anything else you want to say, Mike?
I think we covered about everything.
I will throw this out there. It considering that this was recorded in between like 2001 and 2002, this really does feel like it could have been recorded in the 90s when 8 Mile is taking place.
Mhm.
Yeah, it could have.
They did a good job of making it feel both like a throwback, but also very like in the moment. It still doesn't feel super dated. It feels both of its time and kind of outside of it.
Okay, so now I feel like we've been building to it, but at least we start off with a not bad at all album. We got, because we're obviously not talking about 50 Cent. That'd be its own kind of thing, although I really feel like most of that episode would be us just going, yeah, Get Rich or Die Trying was good, but the rest sucks. So we gotta get to 2004.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Here we are.
which again, we're not talking about a bad album first, but we got to talk about an album that leads off with a really awful lead single.
Even before we get there, I have to call back to when I described how Encore was the first Eminem album I owned. For some reason on that CD, the friend who gave it to me included my band. So yeah, that was my first exposure to D12 too.
So here's my thing, and even I kind of felt this back in 2004, just kind of like in hindsight purely. Did either of you two kind of feel like this was the beginning of his way cornier style on My Band?
Yeah.
Listening to it, I can totally see where that came from. I think My Band kind of works because there's a bunch of other people tempering it in some way.
The
I
only
also just have fond memories of it from middle school dances.
The only part of My Band I even remotely enjoy hearing is probably, and we'll get to this once we talk about events later, but you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to jump right into it. So during live performances after Proof's passing, M would always stop the song and go, "Let me introduce you to the real singer of the band," and then they would have Proof's verse play.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's nice. Yeah,
yeah. That okay. Yeah, even if I think the song's kind of milk toast, that's a nice thing. You did a good M, but I really feel like a lot of the same problems with Devil's Night really can apply to D12 World. I think we can all agree on that, right?
yeah. This is a lot of real samey shit kind of flowing together with one big single.
Minus any really good Dr. Dre, with only one Dr. Dre beat on this.
And it's a direct sequel to a track from Devil's Night.
Yeah, American Psycho 2 with Be Real from Cypress Hill is awesome. I don't know why not enough people talk about like great collaborative songs like this. This should be brought up more.
Yeah, I forgot this was on that album, frankly, but that is the other only kind of okay part of this. It's another fucking bizarre sketch.
Yeah, that's the main problem with D12 World. Again, is a lot of bizarre. It's just part, but to his credit, he gets one at least good verse on Good Die Young, which is a tribute to the former member of D12 Bugs who was shot when Eminem was touring behind the Slim Shady LP. So my favorite, we didn't talk favorite songs about 8 Mile, but I feel like, you know, out of the 3 or 4 songs, I think we all just kind of went, yeah, all of them were great. But my favorites on D12 World are ones that never were. The only one that was a single, How Come? I don't know why I never saw that music video get pushed at all.
Huh.
Like,
Yeah, I'm reading this and it was certified gold, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah, you would think that with my band, they would be getting more attention, but my guess is they didn't want like a super serious single after that. They just wanted something with some fluffy hook.
What was the timeline from my band to Encore? I'm wondering if Eminem's newer stuff might have kind of taken the wind out of its sails too, maybe.
So I'm going to mention some more stuff about D12 World, but I will be getting into that actually. So surprisingly, there's only beyond Be Real, there's only Obi Trice, and of course, this is Dina Ray's last appearance on any Eminem project. I feel like that's something noteworthy, and I've only heard speculations. I've never heard exact reasons why M just does not work with her anymore. I've heard rumors that him and Dina Ray slept together, but when M got back with Kim, that Kim wouldn't allow them to work together or something, or just Eminem straight up abandoned her. We've never gotten a concrete reason why she's never been on a record anymore.
We'll get to this more in part 2, but do you think Skylar Grey is kind of like taken over the role of Dina Ray?
Not well. She's not the track 13 girl. Let's put it that way. My favorite songs on D12 World though are one I'll be talking about in a minute, but How Come's really good. I like Get My Gun a lot. I think that's a way better version of a song we'll talk about on the next record. Good Die Young, and because this was during the whole Benzino Ja Rule feud, Keep Talking's a really awesome diss track. Anybody have any favorites that's not my band?
I really like How Come. 40 ounces is one that I don't think enough people are talking about. It's a pretty good track, but I think the Good Die Young and Get My Gun are the other two of my favorites.
Yeah, I think when I said earlier, a lot of it's kind of like I didn't like this album very much. Like I like my band for nostalgic reasons, just remembering it from childhood, and American Psycho 2 is pretty good. The rest of it, I couldn't pull any of these songs out of a lineup. I'm not gonna lie.
And that's completely fair. I get it. I get nostalgia. So Hayley, you were mentioning to me the whole 2004 thing. So I've got to kind of preface the next album with this. So one of my favorite songs on this album wasn't meant for D12 World. The song 6 in the Morning, it was actually originally called Come On In. So in 2003, Eminem started work on his next album. The problem was he had a leak happen in about like October of that year. I'm just pulling this up on Wikipedia right now. So there's an EP, mixtape, bootleg, whatever you want to call it, called Straight from the Lab. So there are 3 songs that were actually meant for Encore: We as Americans, Love You More, and Come On In. And then the rest are all like diss tracks, so obviously those wouldn't make an album. And so remember when I mentioned back when he was recording the Eminem show, this was the most sober he's ever been?
Yeah.
Well, on set, he was recommended Valium.
Oh, no.
Valium to a guy who has professed his love to Vicodin so much, he has a literal pill crying on the Slim Shady LP, CD, and vinyl. So, yeah, I'm going to let you connect the dots. Relapse, and not the one we're going to talk about in part 2 yet. So, yeah, we gotta fucking talk about Encore.
This album is straight up not good, guys.
Can we get the positives out of the way just so it can transition into our anger?
You know what? You guys talk for a few minutes. Talk the positivity, because I'm saving some energy for this.
Nick and I talk about these two tracks in particular all the time, and how their very existence, as good as they are individually, their inclusion on this record makes everything else so much worse. I'm talking about Like Toy Soldiers and Mosh. Mosh is another one of Eminem's more political tracks. And yeah, if you've seen the music video, he is pointing straight at the president at the time.
Yeah,
and then
I mean,
yeah,
that song is it takes square dance and pulls it about as far as you can go with it, and it still works really well.
And then Like Toy Soldiers is on. It's weird to call this my favorite track on this record, but it is like objectively the best song on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I kind of like how they use war metaphors to describe hip hop feuds. That's just really another great example of Eminem's clever lyric writing and wordplay.
Yeah, the sample usage is really smart too. The way it's used, it's not, the chorus is used from Toy Soldiers by Martika really well, but then the only thing that carries into the verses is the drum beat for it, which is really solid. Yeah, Like Toy Soldiers is so far above basically everything else on this album. Like Mosh is good, but Like Toy Soldiers is it reminds me of Sing for the Moment in that it's really like a very incredibly well done, like, external discussion of the way things were at the time. And while Sing for the Moment fits in really well with the Eminem show, because it's all very incisive and well thought and put out there, Like Toy Soldiers feels like, again, like it was ported from some other dimension, not even another album, like, because the rest of this is just like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready for me to come in and unleash some rage?
Okay, I would like.
Oh, I want to interrupt with one thing.
Go for it.
Because this album is absolutely idiotic, but for some reason, Just Lose It works for me. I don't know why. I've always found that song really stupidly funny. I think it's so stupid it loops around into being funny for me. I don't think it's defensible in any way, but I think it's funny.
Hey, I thought it was the funniest thing ever in grade 5, and that was probably why my mom was not okay with me hearing My Name Is the Real Slim Shady or Without Me, but this and whatever, let him off the hook with it.
I think it also kind of really, it does nicely kind of sound like a night on the town that has gone completely out of control. It's relatable in a way a lot of the stuff on this album just isn't.
So let me just start off with like one huge blanket statement that I'm tearing into why this album is what it is. Encore is the biggest disaster album I have heard from any artist, regardless of musical genre.
Ooh,
that is a strong statement.
Yeah, like here's the thing. I have never seen one album take down an entire artist's fucking career than with Encore. Like, it's such a frustrating disaster coming off the heels of 3 classic records. But like, even if this album was just, at worst a 7 out of 10, I could live with that. But the problem with Encore is just that this album took down his career for 5 years. I've never seen that. Like, people love to point out, oh, Metallica's gone downhill since, well, people keep changing their mind about when Metallica, quote unquote, sold out. But I mean, you know, people at least kind of like have like some general consensus that, you know, this album is where things went downhill. I have never seen somebody have their career get kneecapped as badly as Eminem did with Encore. Like, Evil Deeds is the worst. It's pretty much a telling sign of what kind of album this is going to be. Like, I'm sorry, the other verses can't make up for how bad the "oh, my head is baby and it's a popped off, popped off," and he sounds so slurred and unenergetic in the delivery, and it's just not done in a clever way. And then thankfully we got a good song next, which is surprising. Never Enough with 50 Cent and Nate Dogg. Good song. The problem, it's only 2 minutes and 40 seconds though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I like that song, but it goes by way too fast.
You know what?
Yeah.
I feel like this is the best comparison, and I feel like I've used this before. It's like when Crash, when he was the rock critic, was reviewing all of those Weezer albums, and he was talking about how bad Ratitude is and how each song on that album pisses him off. I feel like every song on Encore pisses me off, even the good ones, for their own reasons. Because exactly that, Never Enough easily could have benefited from like another verse, but thankfully on this, M doesn't sound slurred. 50 actually gets pretty good with his lyrics and isn't just on some generic club bullshit like he was just starting to get to on his next studio album. And even I'm going to be kind of honest, throughout the rest of this album, guys, the Dr. Dre beats aren't that great here.
It kind of sounds like he's phoning it in.
I honestly
There's
kind of
no Bass Brothers on this.
Oh no, they are out of the picture on this record, and I have no clue as to why. I will get into something, you know, later on down the road, but no, there's no production from them on this thing, which kind of takes away from the grittiness and kind of makes the beats feel plastic. I really feel like the Dr. Dre beats, Dr. Dre gave his best beats either to Detox or the Games album, the documentary. And that's kind of why Encore and the Massacre really suffer as a result. So Yellow Brick Road, I like. Does it need to be 5 minutes? No, but it's a lot of this album does have to do with the whole, Hayley, are you aware of the Benzino beef that Eminem was in at the time?
Yeah, that one I actually am. That one I was aware of. He was a music reviewer for The Source, right? And this kind of just blew up The Source.
He was actually, basically, The Source magazine was like the Bible of hip hop, apparently, like the way Metal Hammer and Decibel magazine are for metal. The Source and Double XL are for hip hop, excuse me. Mm-hmm. So basically in like late 2003, Benzino gets a hold of some tapes of Eminem using some racial slurs, and I'm not going to repeat what he says, but he says some very questionable things about black women.
That's not cool.
So Yellow Brick Road actually is a song addressing why he said what he said on those tapes that Benzino leaked. And it's done in a compelling way, but I just wish it wasn't. I wish it could have been like a more tighter, like either 4.5, 5 minute song rather than one that's almost 6 minutes. And I feel like you two summarized Like Toy Soldiers pretty well. It is unquestionably the best song on this disaster of a record. The main thing for me is just that I think this might be the most introspective he's ever been pre-recovery. I feel like that's a fair assessment, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that the second verse really kind of drives it home once he starts talking about how him and Dr. Dre tried to stop the whole 50 Cent versus Ja Rule feud from happening at that point. I really feel like the way he drives that home about how 50 Cent wasn't going to go after him, but then Ja Rule starts bragging about how somebody on his label had stabbed him, and then he starts talking about, you know, how Hayley's going to grow up into the slut. He gives the reasons why he decided to get into each beef and gives his clear motivation as to why he did what he did, but at the same time he just feels like, is this really worth it? It's just so amazing that this is the diamond in the rough on the album.
Yeah, it's nothing like anything else on it. Even like Mosh is good, but it's very different from like Toy Soldiers.
Oh, the thing for me with Mosh, I really like the song because it's just an assault on the Bush administration. But one part of me kind of wishes we could live in a perfect world where we as Americans and Mosh were both on the same album, like kind of back to back. Like, how awesome would that have been?
That would have been so cool.
Like, just 1 minute, fuck money, I don't rap for dead presidents, I'd rather see the president dead. On the next song, fuck Bush. Like, that would have been perfect.
Yeah, and it would have really helped with how all over the place tonally this particular album is if Mosh was not on it too.
Ooh, then we get to what I like to call, how many people have listened to the band Oasis here?
Oh, I kind of like Oasis, yeah.
Okay, have you heard of an album from them called Be Here Now?
Yeah, that was the one that fucking sucked.
Yeah, this is where I like to call this part of the album the Be Here Now section, because every song from here on out is fucking terrible. And I'm not trying to like play this up, like every song here, puke. I remember my friend in 5th grade would not stop singing the goddamn chorus to this.
No.
And I was like, you're seriously thinking this is the funny? And he would try to tie it into another song we'll get to in a minute.
Hold on, before you continue, I have to ask, because I'm on the Wikipedia page. There's a Brian May credited on this track. And if you click on the name, it does bring you to the Brian May
from Queen, yeah, which is so weird to me. But to me, Till I Collapse is a better sample of We Will Rock You than Puke is.
Oh.
And this is where we have to get to okay, I'm gonna spoil one part of part 2. I know a lot of people love to say Revival is worse than Encore. Revival doesn't have lines on this next song that directly refer to finding child porn of Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears.
Yeah.
I would rather hear that than how Eminem sees, your booty is heavier than diarrhea or something. I'd rather hear that than something about pedophilia.
Yeah, can we also talk about how like everything on this album is 4 minutes or longer? So it's not even like, oh, at least we can get out of this pedophilic nonsense in 3 minutes. No, the song is fucking 5 minutes long.
Was there an editor like at all on these tracks?
No, so I'll get into this. So M said in an interview, which is why I mentioned the leaked songs. So because those leaked songs, him and Dr. Dre had to go back into the studio and start recording more music for the album. But the problem is I cannot find an article that is like clear or concise that says which songs were meant for encore or which were cut or which were supposed to go. There's nothing clear. So for all I know, Puke might have been meant for the album, but My First Single definitely sounds like something he did while on drugs, because like God, he is so slurred on this thing.
It's depressing almost, like how bad that particular song is in particular.
Oh, even the down to the beat, it's terrible. And then we get to one of the definite drugged up songs, Rain Man. Boo. Somebody
probably the most boring Dr. Dre beat too.
Oh God, like this is around the same time we were getting Dr. Dre beats like How We Do off of the Games album. Like
none of the beats on this album are very good, aside from Toy Soldiers.
Like the Rain Man beat is just so lethargic and boring, and you know, M's voice at this point, you can really tell the drugs are kicking in, because he sounds like he's talking like this, and he's just not rapping as energetically as he normally would, and he does a stupid voice, and it's just dull, and he talks about nothing.
There's so many stupid voices on this album, I swear to God.
And then we get Big Weenie, which I'm not gonna lie, I laugh at, because it's a song that is laughably bad.
It's so bad.
Like, and who is this supposed to be a diss track for again?
Benzino, who he just said he was walking away from the beef on Toy Soldiers.
Oh God, that is some real Taylor Swift releases Shake It Off and then releases a song about Harry Styles energy.
Yeah.
I hope I remembered the right boyfriend there.
The less we talk about Big Weenie, the better, because this song is just so unbelievably awful. But then the next two, I feel like you guys know how bad Just Lose It is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even from the whole making fun of Michael Jackson angle. It's just from the angle that this is so unbelievably unfunny that I can't believe what I'm hearing. Like, Without Me sounded like M doesn't want to do the whole Slim Shady shtick anymore. That's why the first line is, I've created a monster. Nobody wants to hear Marshall no more. They only want Shady. This really feels like, yeah, I'm just phoning it in, trying to give people more Shady. And it's not even Slim Shady, really.
Yeah, if I never have to hear that song again, I will be very happy.
Oh, this is just one of those legendary, this kind of really feels like it is a good encapsulation of the album, but also isn't, because it really felt like, on one hand, he wants to go for a party song, kind of like how 50 Cent was like doing a lot of club songs, but at the same time not getting that people who go to the club don't want to have a pause section to highlight a fart.
So, like I said earlier when I was mildly defending this song, I do not think this song is great art, by the way. I think it is so stupid that it winds around to being kind of funny in its own just absolutely idiotic way.
You want to know what song isn't defensible, though?
The next one?
The very next one.
Ass Like That is the worst Eminem song, second worst, excuse me. It is the second worst Eminem song I have ever heard. It is as uncomfortable to listen to as a Blood on the Dance Floor song, and that is the end of it.
This is awful. This song. I forgot about this song, because I remember I messaged you guys to be like, is this actually a thing that's happening right now on this album? Holy shit, it's a thing that happened on this album.
Let's just move on to the rest of this, because I'm getting kind of sick of talking about this turd of a release. Because Okay, I'll skip over Spend Some Time because I really feel like this is just Eminem, but this is Taylor Swift before Taylor Swift was a thing, especially in that opening chorus, I'll just call it. Like I don't like Spend Some Time. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I don't.
It is
like
completely skippable.
One song that we will probably have differing opinions on, though. I'll just go over Crazy in Love, terribly used sample. Like that
Awful.
that is literally my problem with samples when it feels like you're just doing karaoke over the original. That's this song. One Shot, Two Shot feels like a poor man's version of Get My Gun from D12 World. Now let's definitely piss some people off because let's talk about Mockingbird. Then we'll talk about the final song.
I will say this. The music video for Mockingbird, I listened to this. I first heard of the song again way back in 2004, 2005. So at the time, I wasn't even fully developed as a as a critic or media analyst. So I just kind of absorbed this song as like, oh, this is an Eminem song. And I thought the music video was nice, a nice little tribute to him and his family. But listening to the song like with a critical lens, it's sloppy. It's his delivery is not his delivery is just not there. Like he barely even like has any sort of like rhyming scheme. And even just like the performance is kind of very low key, but not in a deliberate way. It's the song is a mess.
My thing with
weird song.
My thing with Mockingbird really is it's a poor man's version of what Hayley, like the thing that made Hayley's song work was that Eminem was so happy to have Hayley back that he wanted to sing even though he knew he couldn't. This really feels like the drugs and the depression are kicking in, and it's the singing for me that really drags it down, that really drags down the sentimentality of the lyrics, because you can really feel like he wants to be the good dad that he talks about being, but he just doesn't feel up to par. But then you get the singing, which really, like, some songs Eminem singing isn't the worst. This is where it's not good.
And what exactly is he doing like with the vocal track? Is he doubling? Because he does this later on a couple other tracks on future records, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I've just never really understood why he does that.
Maybe it's because he knows he can't sing. That's the only thing I can think.
I mean, yeah, that does kind of make sense, but yeah, this song, I get what it's going for. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. And then we get to a song that really feels like it. I don't think it's bad. I almost actually kind of like it, but it also kind of feels like it's almost like it should be on Detox. Well, what should have been Detox, I should say. The title track.
Yeah.
I'm actually Googling because I didn't listen to that. Oh, I guess I bowed out of that because I thought the skit was the end. And I was like, thank God this fucking album's over.
Oh, no. So basically we get the Dr. Dre, and because we knew, because 50 Cent got popular, there'd be a Dr. Dre and 50 Cent song on the record. So I mean, like, the fact that they're like the biggest artists in hip hop at that point, it kind of makes sense. And plus, it is kind of a nice bowing out moment. And throughout the majority of the record, one of the smart shreds of ideas is that Eminem has a gun and he's got something planned for the end of the album where he kills the entire crowd. Like that's a cool idea. I just kind of feel like the song itself almost belongs on Detox because it's one of the few Dr. Dre beats on this thing that's actually not bad.
Yeah.
You saying this though reminds me, I think one of the biggest problems with this album is it feels like it's a lot of ideas in search of a plot for sure, but it also feels like a lot of rehashing of things that worked before without really understanding why they worked before. Like Mockingbird, I think, is a prime example of that, where it's like Hayley's song was great, let's do the same thing again. And it feels mercenary almost. It does, like an artist who is normally very genuine, it just doesn't feel entirely genuine. But it's like you've got the sped up sample on Crazy in Love, like the sped up samples for what's on this album, the like Toy Soldiers and Before We Sing for the Moment. You've got Bizarre again, I guess. Like kind of crazy party tracks, like old, like his older, like Without Me's and My Name Is it just, it all feels like if you gave someone a copy of like those 3 albums previously and were like, now make your own, I'm giving you no help whatsoever, go. That's kind of what this feels like. And I know M was like drugged up out of his mind, and I think that contributed to it, where it's like he had the ideas in there, but however he was translating them out is just, it just feels like empty echoes of what came before.
I really feel like this album is career. I've heard some people say why they actually defend Encore is because they think that it's an album of artistic suicide in mind, which is why he ends up shooting up the crowd at the end of the record and kills himself off. I get that. I can kind of see that, but it doesn't make it enjoyable or worth listening to. Vitalogy by Pearl Jam, this ain't.
Nope.
So with that in mind, I feel like we've said what our favorite songs on the record are even. So I feel like we should just acknowledge that at this point. M decides to go on hiatus from hiatus from music in quotations, excuse me, because the guy doesn't really go away until 2007. But I mean, he announces his quote unquote retirement with the greatest hits album. It's probably the highest selling greatest hits album. Talk too much about it because, like, look, it's a greatest hits album. It's one we've already talked about. So I feel it's appropriate to kind of lump them in with the next record we're going to talk about. And this is going to be the final one, the Re-Up.
I'll be honest, I don't have too much to say about the Re-Up, except on paper, I like the idea that this album is going for, because this is essentially Eminem putting over the rest of the talent on his record label, and also introducing some new voices.
Hayley, got any comments? Because I want somebody else to talk instead, because Encore took a lot out of me.
No, and I listened to them in this order too, Encore and then the Re-Up, and I was just like, the Encore is just draining. It's just that it's so bad. It's Man in the Woods bad. It's Metal Music Machine bad. So when I was listening to this, like, it was kind of a relief that it wasn't terrible, but I don't think it's exceptionally memorable either. Like, there's some good OB Trice verses in here. I like the Pistol Pistol remix. Bizarre is still fucking here. I think that's just going to be my greatest irritation with this whole project, is I've listened to more Bizarre than I've ever wanted to, and I wish I didn't know who this person was. Jimmy Crackhorn is awful. I was not here for that song. Smack That remix was fun. And Public Enemy #1, I think, was like, I was mixed on it. I think I was just kind of like, well, it seems like there is an attempt to get back to beyond what Encore was, but it still doesn't quite land.
It's
Like,
it's a pretty short track too, barely
So-
under 2 minutes.
It is, yeah. I
Yeah.
wanted more of that. I think, yeah, like I like this on paper. It's got the same problem as a lot of modern rap albums where it's like 20 tracks long. It does not need to be that long. And yeah, some of these rappers are good, some of them are awful. It's just kind of there, you know.
So I've got feelings about some of the more Eminem centric tracks. So I'll just throw this out there just for the curtain call songs. When I'm Gone is the one that's worth listening to because it actually feels like Mockingbird, but not done with the bad singing. Then Shake That. I've told Mike about this. So Hayley, here's what happened to me when I was in grade 6. This was when I was like really getting into like more punk rock at this point in my life. And everybody at my school dance starts dancing to this monotonous club beat with some guy who's like ultra slurred, does not have like that much energy in him, sounds like a total creep. And then somebody else comes in for the chorus and basically just steals the song essentially. And I'm like, what the hell is this crap? This is annoying. And then somebody goes, what are you talking about? This is Eminem. And I'm like, what? I'm just shocked. I'm like, what? He's literally doing a song called Shake That Ass. Like, are you fucking serious? This is what you would have been clowning Ja Rule for 3 years ago.
God.
Like, I get
and
his
somehow it's still better than Fact.
The less we say about Fact, the better.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I was so shocked by how bad Shake That was. And then we get Smack That, which is I don't want this to get bogged down in Eminem features because we'll be here all day. But it really felt like, to me, he wanted Shady Records to be like a gangster rap label because 50 Cent was huge, but he didn't want to like wholly commit to the new image. And it would have felt insincere either way because, well, that's not who he was. He was just this corny white guy who would make songs about killing people and, you know, have introspective tracks and smart storytelling tracks. It's just kind of, I don't know. I kind of feel like this album is trying to be something it isn't. Yeah, there's some good tracks here and there, but at the same time, the best track here, though, was one that was written long before this album, and it's my favorite. No Apologies is the genuine diamond in the rough on this thing. Like,
and the title alone sounds like something that Eminem would have released in like his prime.
Oh, even I think the first 2 verses he had previously written, it was just he eventually just used them on this album. It really feels like that same old energy that would have been on MMLP or the Eminem Show, where it's just energetic and aggressive, and he's saying, just, this is who I am, this is who I'm supposed to be, this is the kind of music I'm supposed to be making. And it just kind of and it really does sound like a funeral, because did you guys hear about him potentially releasing an album in 2007? Because I felt like I did.
I don't think so. I know off air we have talked about what has been rumored to be known as King Mathers, but
yeah.
I have no actual memory of Eminem hinting at new music back in that time.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was definitely listening to very different stuff at this point. So I don't think I would have been aware regardless. I was very hyped for the new Gorillaz album that was rumored to be coming around that same time.
So because I grew up in a town that had like a lot of gangs going on, so they still liked Eminem at that point. I heard rumors in 2007 that Eminem was supposed to be putting out an album, and we have to close out on like a really dark note, guys. So he is rumored to be, and I don't want this to get bogged down in unreleased records, but in 2007, he's supposed to put out an album called King Mathers. Even one of the artists who's on the re-up, Cassius, he's hyping up the album in interviews going, oh yeah, Eminem, he has a new record coming out called King Mathers. And this was supposed to be his definitive retirement album. And I'm not going to get into like a lot of graphic detail on it because I feel like you can go and watch John Banana's video on YouTube describing the whole story behind this album. But this really does feel like this would have been the end. And it almost would have been, because given that the rest is history now, we know that Eminem almost dies in December of 2007, a year after Proof from D12 is killed. And just knowing the last track was going to be a song called It's Been Real about him shouting out everybody on Shady Records, it really feels like this would have been the end. So unfortunately, we have to end it on that note. But given that there's a part 2, we've got a wealth of music that we gotta talk about next.
Oh yeah, just as a quick preview of what we got going on in part 2, we pick up with Relapse, which is a pretty significant comeback for Eminem, and this takes us all the way to Music to Be Murdered By, and we'll get into it next time. But there is a rumor circling around that he had another album to be released sometime this year. But who knows if that rumor had any credibility to it.
Yeah, because we've got rumors of an aftermath takeover of Dr. Dre, Eminem, and Kendrick Lamar all releasing records.
That's because they're all doing the Super Bowl, right? I would assume.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay,
probably.
But we will get more into that next time. For now, that brings part 1 to a close. Before we get out of here, Hayley, where can everyone find you online or not find you?
Nowhere. As always, you can yell at me in the comments. Hopefully I can find the one person who enjoys Just Lose It, and we can dance terribly together to it.
And Nick, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Super Saiyan Death Metal God. You can also find me as a mod for horror actress Catherine Isabel. You know her from Ginger Snaps, American Mary, Hannibal, and the Netflix show that got canceled, The Order. I'm a mod for her, so if you want to join and watch her play some video games and hear her talk about set stories and her dogs, hey, swing by and say hi.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Captain Kaye42. You can check out all my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. Look for us on Podchaser. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this installment of Renegade Jukebox. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.